Hi, let's talk about coding as a service. Have you heard of software as a service, or platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service? All of these services are suggesting that when a company or a business purchases these services, that they're getting some pre-built capabilities that will in time correlate with their business processes. So we're just reusing that term and we're calling it coding as a service. But in this context, coding as a service is for you. You can put this on your resume, you can put this in LinkedIn, and we're just going to talk about why that's so meaningful. Coding as a service means that you're going to provide some coding as a service to a business or a company. Now, you might say, okay, wait a minute. I don't know if I can put that on my resume. I don't know how to code, or I have some experience, not the most extensive experience. There's always somebody out there better than me. Everybody is good at coding. Everybody has a certain style, and everybody has a strength that can correlate to the objective, and anybody can code. So let's walk through how this is possible. First, let's talk about styles. There's certain styles that each have their advantages in coding. Let's talk about some styles. I'll bring up some styles. There's probably many more styles out there. In the comments of this video, please add your style. One style is a more mathematical style to coding that can prefabricate and pre-formulate the approach before coding even starts. So that's one style. I'll go through another style where it's more creative and artistic, more of a discovery process. Okay, so let's go through the first style. The first style, which is somebody who's more likely to be mathematical in their approach, more formalized, more structured. So that style, a person is more likely to think through what they're going to accomplish before they code, and then the coding becomes easy. So that style really works. So there's another style which is more of a creative, artistic, discovery type of style. That style works just as well in coding. That's more my style. So I'll talk about my style, which is I like to look at an objective and I like to address that objective as simple as possible. I get the coding complete in some manner that I just seemingly kind of touch on the objective. Then I like to take breaks and I like to revisit and just review what functional aspects I hit and what non-functional aspects I need to consider or think about. Then I like to refactor the code. Then I like to talk to other people that might have experience in certain areas that I'm touching on and get some feedback. And then I like to refactor again and again. So this is my style. I mean, this is how I started. And I always wanted to prefabricate and try to be able to code before I code and make my life easier. But I've actually grown to appreciate my style, and it works for me. And it works just as well as any other style. So there's some advantages to these two different styles and some disadvantages. So you can see the disadvantage with the style that I might undertake is it requires a lot more refactoring, a lot more time, a lot more thought. Another style, somebody might be very good at being able to code before they code, but when their code goes into production, they are less likely to want to refactor or change their code because they felt that they thought everything through and they had everything covered. So there's a little bit of resistance to change, whereas in my style, there's no resistance to change because that's just how I code. So you see how different styles have strengths and weaknesses. What is your style? Well, the only way to know is to start coding. How do you start coding? How do you get into the market? You probably feel there's like a huge learning curve and the cost of entry is too high and you don't really see the opportunity where you can get paid. So take that pressure away. Look at it this way. Look at learning to code as just something you want to do in life and make it more of a discovery process. Just get into coding to learn what your style is, and that moment in your life is more valuable to you than anything else because you're learning something about yourself and you're discovering. And if you like that style, you can keep that style going and you just get better and better in coding and you're just always in discovery mode. That's how I started, and I'm still in discovery mode. I've been coding for 20 years. So let's talk about languages. So languages, let me throw in some of my experiences with languages, and then I can tell you what is the best language. I'm actually going to tell you that any language is the best language because they're all wonderful. So when I first started, I got into Perl, then I got into HTML, and then CSS came out way back when, and then I discovered you can separate style from markup. And then LiveScript came out, which turned into JavaScript, so I got into that, but then there's memory management issues, so couldn't get into it as heavy. And then PHP came out, changed my world. It was wonderful. There's so much support, so many people adding comments to how they like to code certain methods, etc. It was just amazing. Then I got into corporate, started coding a lot of Java, and got into Visual Basic to support some data management tooling, some interfaces, and Java was more about the back end. Got into Python when working with data a lot more heavier. Always working with SQL, always working with standard query language all along the way. Also got into some frameworks like Ionic Framework and Zen Framework because it was PHP. Got into Drupal with the community there. Oh wow, and then WordPress. So I got into a lot of these languages. Oh yeah, C# when I was getting into Azure cloud coding and serverless computing. So I got into a lot of of coding languages. What I have to tell you though, out of all of those experiences, is I used to put all those languages on my resume. But isn't it more wonderful to just say, I can deliver coding as a service. I have an offering, coding as a service. And whatever language is useful at the time that I'm trying to achieve an objective is the language I use as a tool. So it's not about the language. Every language is great. It's about what objective you're trying to achieve. So let's talk about objectives. What are some objectives that you can get started with? Well, you can look at data or you can look at experience. If you look at data, you can learn how to code just let's say using Python and just pulling some data out of the database and making some analysis on the data and then saving that data back in the database with some enhanced context. Well, that could be one approach to learn how to code, and you could, that's very explicit. So you'll learn a lot because you're explicitly applying your skill. Another approach is to focus on the objective of creating an experience. You might see an experience on the web, or you might see something in social media that you want to replicate, or you have a vision for your own experience. Well, then you're just finding some coding and languages as a tool to achieve that objective. It's much more challenging to accomplish that objective because it's very implicit in nature. And you have, not only are you learning a lot about yourself, but you're learning a lot about other people, and you're learning that there's multiple ways to do things and multiple options to achieve a goal. So you're going to learn a lot more. So a much heavier and harder journey to take, but it's much more rewarding in the end. So yeah, so consider all of this, and I hope this motivates you to put coding as a service on your resume. Do it right away, because it's not about what you know now, it's about what you know in the future. And just think of it this way, the future starts now. Okay? Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll have some more videos coming out where we'll walk through Synapse Chain and we'll do some hands-on, approaches to learning, aspects of coding and experience or coding through data. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.